Hey, Rabbi, you're fucking late. Well, guess what? You don't even know who I am or what I do. So go pound sand. No one really knows for sure. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. But this is the Mazor we live by. It is 5th of Adar, 5786, Sunday, February 22nd. Let's do it. Sewers. I got 99 Zurisan, but a bitch ain't one. Golos. That's diaspora. Chokhmah. Wisdom, Bina, understanding, Daya. Knowledge. Chalaf is a knife. Shechita is a slaughter. Shochet is a slaughter. Badika, examination or inspection. Chalaf, the instrument of surgical sharpness used to perform shechita. Halakha, the body of Jewish law, halachic, in accordance with halakha, kosher, correct, fit, appropriate according to the laws of Judaism. Nevela, an animal that was not slaughtered by shechita. By this point, shechita, a Jewish religious humane method of slaughtering animals and poultry for food. Shochet, shoktim, the person who performs shechita, qualified with the knowledge of Jewish law, animal anatomy, and pathology, and licensed by both religious and civic authorities. Trefa, literally torn. Zar Ba'ale Chaim, the Jewish teaching that cruelty to animals diminishes man's own ethical and moral standing. Shochet must be learned from laws of kosher slaughter. The process of sharpening, polishing knives is Stellen Chalef. The checker is a bodek. Gay kaken often yam elect is dying. I gotta do this bullshit. May Hashem bless you and guide you. May Hashem shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Hashem lift his face to you and grant you peace. Akin ani medaber ivrit bekar ivrit mekra'i afshe befol anaknu amurim ledaber Yiddish o ulai arami shegam otan ani yakol ledaber bamida mezuyamet aval ani madef angli lakin bo'u nadaber angli ze nishma tov lecha. Okay, well, we gotta do this bullshit. Dog. Nagira Chava, Nagira Chava, Nagira Benismecha, Hava, Nagira Chava, Nagira Chava, Nagira Benismecha. Havanera, 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 Venispecha. Havanera, 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 Venispecha. Urachim, Urachim, Velasameach, Urachim, Velasameach, Urachim, Velasameach. Urachim, Belev Sameach, Urachim, Belev Sameach. Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Vein Ismecha. Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Vein Ismecha. Hava, Neranena, Hava, Neranena, Hava, Neranena, Vein Ismecha. Havane Ranena, Havane Ranena, Havane Ranena, Venismekam. Ooh, Urakim, Urakim, Benefsemeach, Urakim, Belefsemeach, Urakim, Belefsemeach, Urakim, Belefsemeach, Urakim. Tight. Death, soul separates Gehenna. Purification, Gan Eden. Initial spiritual reward, possible reincarnation, spiritual repair, resurrection, body, soul reunited. Olam Haba, perfected, embodied, eternal world. 5 levels: Nefesh, action, vitality, Ruach, emotion, Neshama, intellect, Chaya, transcendent life force, Yechida, absolute unity with God. Alright. Yora, he may teach, Yadin, he may be judged. Yatir Bakharot, he may permit firstborns. Oh, okay. So we've got Torah, we've got Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Devarim, Genesis, the latest numbers, Deuteronomy. Yeshua, Yehoshua, Joshua, Shoftim, Judges, Shmuel, Malachim, that's Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings. Yeshayahu, Isaiah. Yirmiyahu, that's Jeremiah. Ezekiel, Trey, Asai, the 12 minor prophets. That's Hosea, Yoel, Amos, Obadiah, Yonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Tehillim, Mishle, Eov, it's Job, this is Ketubim. 5 Megillah, 5 scrolls, Shir, Hashirim, Song of Songs, Ruth, Micah, Lamentations, Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, Esther, Daniel, Ezra, Nehemiah, Divrei Hayamim. Totally. Alright, that shit's starting to take a long time. Dude, I cannot. Schnorrer is a fucking beggar. Alright, here we go. Amakai, that's what some Rebbitzin says after we strip. That's what they all say after we strip. Halavai. If only I wish Yiddish cup. Yenta, talk to bitch, it's kind of a fetish of mine. Talkless brass tacks. Nosh to snack. Bashert means soulmate. Bashirter is a male soulmate. Bashirter, a female soulmate. Mishmash is a mixture. Bupkis means nothing. Beans. Good Yontif means happy holiday. L'chaim, to life. Parv, neutral. flat, kosher, smooth mensch. That's a good dude. I think benches should be a thing. Could be Ashat Khayil. It could be Seducus Freud. It could also be Gittel. Oh shit. Skoyak, from that's Yasher. Yeah, Yasher Kokaka. That's then shortened to Yasher Kok, then Skoyak. And that's may your strength be directed forward. Shadel, that's a Stadel. Stedel, that's a town. Shadel, that's a wig. Strymel, that's a hat. Milchig, that is dairy, fleischig, meat. Carb, neutral. Hamish is homie. Homie, schmata, rags. Schwiger, mother-in-law. Chazir is pig. Chazer is to repeat. Schlep, to carry burden. Meshuggah, well, crazy guy. Gonf, that's a thief. Yarmulke, that's a hat, comes from the idea of some people say awe of the king. Yare Malka, Yortzeit annual death, death anniversary. Traphus, torn. Klutz is clumsy. Nidlock is matzo balls. Schwitz is the sweat. Schnorr is a beggar. Schmutz is a big one. Schmutz is a Yiddish word that means dirt or grime. Properly pronounced, it should rhyme with putz, not cuts. Schmutz. It is sometimes spelled schmutz or schmutz. Metaphorical schmutz. Something profane or lewd can be described with the adjective schmutzing or schmutzig, which functions like dirty in English. Here's an example. Oh, that joke was schmutzig. Schmutzig biology. Keeping clean is important in Judaism before settling down to a meal. We wash our hands. The hand washing is followed by a short blessing and has almost nothing to do with the physical cleanliness as it takes place after your hands are already clean. Before washing for bread, you can learn more about that here. Make sure to watch the schmutzige hand, grubby hands. Make sure to watch your schmutzige hand, grubby hands. In Judaism, it is super important to not use foul language, so some people may need occasional reminders to close their schmutzige moil. Okay, we'll get into that shit. What schmutz isn't prior to Passover, when every bit of chametz, leavened grain product, must be removed from the home using shmadas, of course. It is important to remember the added schmutz is not chametz. Grime is just grime. A trace of schmutz. Shemetz, a loan word from Hebrew, means trace, implying that the tiniest amount of something. Technically, one can have a schmetz or schmutz, but the two words have no etymological link. A Hasidic tale about schmutz. There was once a young bird who knew only his mother's nest. There was once a young bird who knew only her mother's nest. She began to feel that the nest was small and dirty. Worst of all, it smelled horribly. The more the poor chick sniffed, the worse the place seemed to smell. Finally, she felt compelled to fly off on her own will in search of a more wholesome environment. Flying unsteadily, she made her way to a nearby barn and made herself comfortable. But alas, it took only a few minutes for her to discover that there was a stench there as well, just as bad as the nest she had left. She hopped into the barnyard and tried to find a comfortable spot, but it also stank. She went from place to place, but wherever she went, she found an awful smell. Finally, discouraged and disillusioned, she returned home to consult with her mama bird. Little bird, said her mother, the world doesn't smell. There's just a piece of schmutz stuck to your beak. This reflects the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov that if you see a flaw in someone else, it is because you yourself have the same blemish. In a sense, the other is merely mirroring your own schmutz for you to see and correct. All right. Question is curious. What is the Jewish stance on cursing and curse words? I've heard the line that our bodies are a temple and defaming God's name is very bad. But what about a little curse here or there when you're really mad? Thanks. Response. Think of someone wise, kind, and caring. The type of man or woman you deeply respect and look up to as a role model. Could you imagine such a person spewing out filthy language in a sudden moment of rage? Probably not, and for good reason. It's not. It isn't just a holy thing to do. In the beginning of the Torah portion of Kedoshim, we read an enigmatic instruction: Kedoshim Tihu, be holy. This is different from the many other commandments that follow, which pertain to specific matters such as marital and ritual purity or holiness. The sages explain that the Hebrew word kadosh, which is normally translated as holy, actually means to be distinct or separate. Thus, these words are actually a commandment to separate ourselves. Separate from what? From vulgar language, for one. To paraphrase Nachmanides, while the Torah forbids various behaviors and foods, at the same time it does permit intimacy between husband and wife and the consumption of kosher meat and wine. Thus, there can be a glutton who eats only kosher food, a drunkard who drinks only kosher wine, and a married man whose behavior with his wife is lewd, even though she is permissible to him. Or there may be a person who speaks in a disgusting manner, something that is not specifically prohibited in the Torah. Thus, it is possible for a person to actually be, in the classic sense of Nachmanides, disgusting with the permission of Torah. In other words, Torah itself demands that you go beyond the parameters it sets for you and live a life that is truly distinguished and uplifted. The Torah tells you that to be holy, it's not enough to do this and don't do this. There's something you have to do on your own to get up there, to go beyond just following instructions, at least a small step. The truth is that using bad language does not the truth is that using bad language does more than keep you from being one step above it, actually schleps you down. The Talmud speaks very harshly about one who speaks in a vulgar way. Although we generally think of speech as just a superficial act, in truth, it has a strong implicit on your inner self. The words that leave your mouth make an imprint on your mind and heart, no matter how high up you are. The rope of fine, noble character. A few rotten words can throw you back down to the ground. And the flip side is also true. A crude person can become more refined if he improves the way he speaks. This is why Shemirat HaLashon, guarding one's tongue, is considered one of the first steps that need to be taken correcting some serious character flaws. So, is a choice word after stumbling into a horrible sin? Perhaps not. But being careful that all words that leave your mouth are holy is an important part of living the holy life of a Jew. Oh, okay, cool. Fuck that shit. I say what I want, babies. Really? Yeah. No, I've been really good in the past about it, but it's not as funny. Really? Yeah. All right. Have you ever cursed in shul? I have allegedly maybe cussed outside of shul, but Not emerential. Really? Not that I know. Alright. Now what? Dog, you got. This is Kabbalah and coffee. Coffee and Kabbalah. Alright. Now what? Dude, I've been working on these fucking robots for weeks and I have not been promoting myself and I need to start. Dude, what happened? Oh, my shit's here. So what are we learning today? Some bullshit. Book of Raziel the Angel. Is this tight? I'm sure it sucks. Really? Oh, this shit's so boring. Want to learn about aliens. What are you doing? I'm here, babies. Just slinging brick back up. Yeah. Look at this athleticism. Pardon me. What the fuck?
Upper 8. Sefer Raziel Hamalach. Sefer Raziel Hamalach. Sefer Raziel Hamalach. Book of Raziel the Angel. Traditional attribution. Raziel Hamalach. Raziel the Angel to Adam. To Adam. Adam. Historical reality. Medieval Kabbalistic compilation. Core date. 5th to 7th century layers. Expanded in the 12th, 13th centuries. Mythic origin narrative. Raziel, the angel of secrets, reveals divine wisdom to Adam after the expulsion from Eden. The book contains heavenly knowledge lost after the fall, said to include cosmology, angelology, divine names, magical and protective formulas. This legend gives the text primordial authority. Historical development. Scholars identify it as a composite work drawing from Haikalot, palaces, literature, early Jewish mysticism, Sefer Yetzirah, Book of Formation traditions, practical Kabbalah, Kabbalah Marsit, practical Kabbalah, major medieval redaction, likely in Germany or Provence, 12th, 13th C, printed for the first time in Amsterdam, 1701. Nah 3. Structure of the book. The work is divided into several sections, often varying by manuscript. 1. Cosmology and creation, descriptions of the seven heavens, Shabahaki'im, seven firmaments, structure of the cosmos, angelic hierarchies, strong Merkava, chariot influence, Sefer HaMalbush, Sefer HaMalbush, book of the garment, mystical discussion of divine garments, Yivushim, garments, cosmological symbolism, relationship between divine light and vessels, Sefer Harazim, Book of Mysteries. Material influence from earlier magical text, Sefer Harazim, includes angelic names, incantations, ritual instructions, astrology, and planetary angels. 4. Divine names and protective formulas. Large portion dedicated to Shemot, divine names, angelic seal amulets, protective uses for illness, childbirth, protection from demons. This is practical Kabbalah. 5. Sefer Otot, Book of the Signs. Mystical power of letters, Otiot, letters. Gematria, numerical interpretation, permutations of divine names. Ivor core themes. 1. Primordial wisdom. The book presents hidden knowledge given before Torah at Sinai. 2. Angelic mediation. Knowledge comes through angelic transmission rather than prophecy. 3. Power of language. Hebrew letters are ontological forces. Speech equals creative energy. 4. Practical mysticism. Unlike purely theoretical Kabbalah, it includes actionable formulas. It borders on ritual magic, often controversial among rabbinic authorities. V. Relationship to other works. It draws from or parallels Sefer Yetzirah, Book of Formation, Heichalot literature, Heichalot palaces texts, Sefer Harazim, Book of Mysteries, early Ashkenazi Hasidism, Hasidut Ashkenaz, German pietism. Later Kabbalists knew it, but treated it cautiously. Rabbinic attitudes, mixed reception, some permitted limited study. Many warned against practical Kabbalah, use of divine names, amateur mystical practice, it was sometimes kept in homes as a protective object. 7. Influence, used in amulet traditions, influenced folk Kabbalah, circulated widely in early print, impacted Christian occult traditions. 8. Why it matters. Sefer Raziel represents a bridge between Merkava mysticism and medieval Kabbalah, a major source for Jewish angelology, the foundation of much later practical Kabbalah, a rare example of mystical cosmology blended with operative ritual instruction. If you'd like, I can next compare it directly with Sefer Yetzirah, break down its angelic hierarchy in detail, explain why mainstream Kabbalah moved away from its practical elements, or outline how it influenced later grimoires. Upper 8.
No, dog, what are we learning today? Yo, dog, please tell me everything that you would need to do the sacrifices at the temple.
So I just want to point out things like this. If you have a bread that is made both out of wheat flour and rice flour, if it tastes like wheat, tastes like meat, it brings out this color. Even though the majority of it is rice flour, traces here, that taste is a biblical determinant, which means maybe midrabbanan. No, yeah, this is a determinant, but only midrabbanan, not just rice. No. You have to sleep up, but again, that rice is great. Furthermore, the Gemara says, you can even use it for matzah. So if you made a matzah, ultimately again, with rice, flour, and mikan. Obviously, this is before the days of Kitnius, right? Before the days of Kitnius legislation. Remember, Kitnius legislation is Drabanan. So remember, again, so there's absolutely no problem using rice. On Pesach.
All right, here's the full breakdown of what would be required to perform the korbanot sacrificial offerings. All right, here's the full breakdown of what would be required. Here's the full breakdown of what would be required to perform the korbanot sacrificial offerings in the Beit HaMikdash Holy Temple based on Torah. All right, here's the full breakdown of what would be required. Here's the full breakdown of what would be required to perform the korbanot sacrificial offerings in the Beit HaMikdash Holy Temple. All right, here's the full breakdown of what would be required to perform the korbanot, sacrificial offerings in the Beit HaMikdash, Holy Temple, based on Torah and Halacha. I'll organize this by categories: place, people, objects, animals, procedure, purity, and law. Number one, the place, the temple itself. The Beit HaMikdash, Holy Temple, must be built in its proper location, on Harabait, Temple Mount, in Jerusalem. Specifically on the site of the Even Hashtia, required structures. Inside the temple complex, Mizbeach, altar, Heichal, sanctuary, Kodesh HaKodashim, Kodesh HaKodshim, Holy of Holies, courtyards, Lishkot. The altar must be built exactly according to halachic measurements. Without a valid altar, no offerings can be brought. The altar, most critical element. The Mizbeach HaChitzon, Mizbach HaChitzon, outer altar, requires exact dimensions built from uncut stones, no metal tools touching the stones, specific ramp, kevesh, horns. It must be in the correct location, built by halachic standards, dedicated properly. This alone is a massive legal requirement. Number 3, the people. Kohanim, only male descendants of Aharon, can perform sacrifices. Requirements: verified lineage, no physical blemishes, ritual purity, tahara, proper priestly garments. High priest for certain offerings like Yom Kippur service, a high priest is required. Levites, they sang during offerings, played instruments, guarded the temple. For regular Kohanim, Ketulet, tunic, avnet, match, big bar, pants. For the Kohen Gadol, Koshen, breastplate, if male, me'il, tzitziat, forehead plate, tzitz. Garments must be made properly, worn correctly, not torn, fit the individual. 5, the animals must meet strict criteria, unblemished, specific age requirements, specific species, cattle, sheep, goats, doves, pigeons, purchased properly and designated as holy, Hakadosh. Number 6, ritual purity. This is one of the biggest modern obstacles. Participants must be tahor, ritually pure, not tamimet, pure from contact with the dead. Today, virtually all Jews are tamimet. Purification requires para aduma, red heifer, ashes, sprinkling on days 3 and 7, immersion in mikveh. Without the red heifer ashes, full purity cannot be achieved. Number 7, sacred vessels, required items include shovels, bowls, mizrek, forks, fire pans. Inside the Heikal, menorah, shulchan, mizbeach, kataret, isn't all must be made to halachic specifications. 8, fire, the altar requires continuous fire, esh tamid, originally descended from heaven, maintained by priests. Number 9, the Sanhedrin, a functioning Sanhedrin, Supreme Rabbinic Court, may be required for national offerings, calendar sanctification, certain communal korbanot. This is debated among authorities. Number 10, the political reality. According to most halachic opinions, the temple must be rebuilt. Some authorities argue sacrifices could theoretically resume once the altar is rebuilt, even before the full temple, but Temple Mount status, sovereignty, halachic consensus, ritual purity issues, all are major barriers. Number 11, types of sacrifices. Korbanot. Examples include Olah, burnt offering, Chatat, sin offering, Asham, guilt offering, Shlamim, peace offering, Korban Pesach, Passover offering, to meet, daily offering. Each has different requirements. Number 12, theological considerations. According to many, sacrifices resumed only in Messianic era, Yemot Mashiach. Some debate whether all types will return. Bottom line, what is absolutely necessary? Minimum halachic requirements. 1, correct location, valid altar, 3, valid kohanim, 4, proper vessels, 5, ritual purity, major issue, 6, halachic authorization. Without ritual purity via the red heifer, most authorities say it cannot fully resume. If you want next, I can explain. Could sacrifices technically restart today? What exactly blocks it right now? How this connects to Mashiach, Simcha, or how different Jewish groups view this issue?
And if not, it'll be possible. So you take a mino mixture and turn it into a mini shemino mixture in order to go ahead and see its hashes. No, and also down. No, it really means we use the blood as if it was water, and then you ultimately get the blood in this ratio, water mixed water, but it still look like blood. There's a reason it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we butter, and ultimately again, what do you mean rolling? And I should say butter. Furthermore, kind of good over there. Rolling also is yang butter. Further, I'm going to look at another price. This is a fascinating piece. That is a totally different case now. Hold on just a second. That you said we do it as if it was red. And there was red wine. And here our eating kosher is a big piece. If the wine itself, the vision of the wine would have become lesser in color. Here means lesser in color. Ultimately, again, it's kosher. It's just called the love puzzle. And it's not ultimately again with puzzle. We're going to define that case together. See what it says tonight. In reality, this whole thing is a focus timeline. And I will say, so just want to point out what just happened over here. Because we're a lot of stuff just because we have stuff enough to do. So I was like, this cooking is more focused tonight. I want to this introduce principles. All the principles. If you have things that you know, how do you do it with you know? Right? How do you do it with actually let's reverse that. Because the truth is the easier case in halacha is actually min b'she'eno. Two dissimilar items. How do you reckon? How do you work into two dissimilar items? How do you do it? Tom, hey, that's easy.
Alright, let's go deeper. Not just what's needed physically, but the halachic mechanics, political barriers, and messianic framework behind restoring the korban offerings. Number 13, could sacrifices restart before the temple is fully built? There is a major debate. Position 1. Yes, the altar exists based on the ruling of Maimonides, Rambam. The sanctity of the Temple Mount is eternal. Once sanctified by King Solomon, it remains holy forever. Therefore, if you build a valid mizbeach in the correct location with valid kohanim, some offerings could theoretically resume. This view is extremely important. Position 2, no, full temple required. Other authorities argue the altar must be part of a functioning temple structure. Certain offerings require Sanhedrin, national authority, proper division of priestly watches, mishmarot, and whatnot. They say you cannot restart halfway. Number 14, the red heifer problem, big one. As we said, everyone today is temi met, impure from contact with the dead. Purification requires ashes of the para aduma, red heifer. Without it, Kohanim cannot achieve full ritual purity. Entering certain areas becomes prohibited. Some argue communal offerings may override impurity under the principle of tumahutra b'tzibur, communal impurity allowance. This is a major halachic debate. Number 15, the location issue. To build the altar, you must know the exact location of the mizbeach, the exact location of the Kodesh HaKodashim, Holy of Holies. There is debate over where precisely it stood on Har HaBayit, whether we have enough archaeological clarity. Even a slight misplacement invalidates the service. Number 16, political and security barrier. Har HaBayit, Araba Temple Mount, is currently under Islamic Waqf administration. Extremely sensitive political control. Any attempt to build would trigger global crisis, possibly war. So beyond halacha, there is geopolitical reality. Number 17, do we need Mashiach, Messiah? Major debate. View A, Mashiach comes first. Many traditional authorities say the temple will be rebuilt in the Messianic era. Mashiach leads the rebuilding. Sacrifices resume afterward. View B, temple first, Mashiach revealed through it. Some hold rebuilding the temple is itself part of initiating redemption. Mashiach may be revealed through that process. According to Rambam, Mashiach will 1. Restore Davidic monarchy, 2. Rebuild the temple, 3. Gather exiles. So in his framework, Mashiach leads it. Number 18. Will all sacrifices return? Another huge discussion. Some opinions say, in the future, only Thanksgiving offerings, Korban Todah, remain. Some midrashim suggest sin offerings may cease. Others, including Rambam, assume full restoration of Torah. Kabbalistic sources often see sacrifices as cosmic rectification. Tikkun, tikkun. 19. Sanhedrin question. To bring certain offerings, we may need a functioning Sanhedrin, Sanhedrin Supreme Court, authority to sanctify months, national halachic consensus. Today, no universally recognized Sanhedrin exists. Some small groups claim to have re-established one, but not broadly accepted. Number 20. The Kohanim today, do we have valid Kohanim? Most are, based on family tradition, chazakah. We lack absolute genealogical proof. However, halacha generally accepts chazakah for priestly status. There are also priestly training programs, garments prepared, temple vessels reconstructed by various groups. Number 21. The Temple Institute Factor 1 major modern organization preparing vessels is Temple Institute, Makol Mikdash. They have recreated priestly garments, built a golden menorah, trained Kohanim in ritual procedure, attempted red heifer breeding programs. They are preparing for potential restoration, but they do not have political control. Number 22. Spiritual dimension. In rabbinic thought, prayer today replaces sacrifices based on verses in Hosea. We will repay bulls with our lips. The daily Amidah, standing prayer, parallels the Tamid offering. So Judaism did not lose korbanot, they were sublimated into prayer. Number 23. The deep theological question. Some modern thinkers ask, sacrifices in their ancient form function the same way today? Questions include ethical sensibilities, spiritual evolution, prophetic universalism, traditional orthodox view, if Torah commands it, it returns, more liberal movements generally reject future animal sacrifices. Number 24. So what actually blocks it right now? Let's summarize the hard stops. 1. No temple structure. 2. No red heifer ashes. 3. Political control of Temple Mount. 4. No consensus Sanhedrin. 5. Massive global consequences. 6. Theological division within Judaism. Even if halakhically possible in theory, practically it is nearly impossible under current conditions. Number 25. Mystical view. Kabbalah sees sacrifices as elevating sparks, repairing spiritual worlds, drawing divine flow. Some mystics suggest the Messianic era will involve a transformed form of korbanot, not primitive but spiritually elevated. If you want, next we can explore the exact daily temple schedule, hour by hour, whether sacrifices can override Shabbat, the mystical meaning of animal sacrifice, or the radical opinion that sacrifices were only temporary in human history.
They're not being brought up with shame carbon, they're being brought up just to continue the fire going. And therefore, you're allowed to bring the entire mixture up. The oil will be burnt properly, and the process will be able to keep the fire going. Argue, and then say no. You learn to us. You are not allowed to bring up the entire process because they're not supposed to draw anything back, and therefore you have to wait overnight. Let that be possible. You have to wait the trade, but then you can burn the whole thing. The Gemara is going to go into the reason because the Gemara is not going to go through the reason between the two. Right? So we have we have a mixture of and Rabbi Eliezer says, bring the entire mixture up on the back, and just have in mind that the Nagar and the Chata are not being brought for the purpose of the carbon, but instead of fire.
So far, so good, my man. How are you? Excellent. I'll be able to be with you. I need about 20 minutes, okay? Excellent. I appreciate it, big man.
My time with Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, so you want to know what is the reason for Rabbi Eliezer? Why does Rabbi Eliezer allow you to sort of have this thought process of bringing things, but having in mind that it's not really counting towards the carbon, and why is that okay? Yeah, something that can't other be brought out of this back.
All right, let's go into the hour-by-hour daily temple schedule of the Beit HaMikdash. Holy Temple during the Second Temple period. Most of this comes from Mishnah Tamid and Rambam's codification before dawn. 1. Terumat Hadeshen, Terumat Hadeshen, removal of ashes. A Kohen is selected sometimes by lottery. He ascends the Mizbeach Mezvolta, removes a portion of ashes from the previous day's offerings, places them beside the altar. This begins the new day's service. Pam 2. Preparing the altar. Remaining ashes cleared. Wood arranged on the altar in specific configurations. 3 wood piles prepared. 1. Main fire. 2. Incense coals. 3. Backup fire, according to some opinions. Fire must be continuous, ish tamid, early morning. 3. Slaughter of the tamid, the daily morning offering. Korban tamid, constant offering. A year-old male lamb without blemish. Procedure. 1. Slaughter in the north section of the courtyard. 2. Blood received in a vessel. 3. Blood dashed on the altar's corners. 4. Animal flayed and divided. 5. Limbs salted and placed on the altar. This offering defines the daily rhythm. Inside the Haikal, Yechela sanctuary. 4. Menorah service. Lamps cleaned. Fresh oil added. Wicks replaced. Menorah lampstand kindled. Caps 5. Ketetoret, incense offering, special incense mixture, placed on golden altar, Mizbech HaKetoret, Mizbach HaKetoret, offered daily in morning. Tradition says when incense rose, no woman miscarried in Jerusalem from its fragrance. During the Tamid, 6 Levitical song, Levites sing Psalm of the Day, instruments played, trumpets blown at specific moments. People bow during trumpet blasts. The temple was not silent. It was a choreographed liturgy, day period. This is when individual korbanot offerings are brought, sin offerings, chatat chatat, guilt offerings, peace offerings, shalomim shalomim, also communal additional offerings, musaf musaf, on Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, festivals. Late afternoon, Meham, 7, afternoon tamid, second daily lamb offering. This one could not be brought after sunset. It was the final offering of the day. No offering could follow it except incense. Late afternoon incense, second Keteret offering of the day. This is considered especially powerful spiritually. Evening, remaining fats and limbs burn on altar through the night, fire maintained. Temple guards stationed. Mizbeach never goes cold. On Shabbat, daily tamid continues. Additional musaf offerings, showbread, lechem hapanim, replaced weekly. Shabbat does not stop sacrifices. On festivals, massive increase in activity. Pilgrims bring offerings. Korban Pesach on Pesach Passover offering, brought in enormous numbers. Courtyard filled. Groups cycle in waves. Josephus describes rivers of blood flowing from altar drainage channels. Mystical structure of the day, according to Kabbalah. Morning tamid equals chesed, is loving kindness. Afternoon tamid gevurah, vura, strength, judgment. Incense, unification of divine attributes. Night burning equals spiritual elevation of physical matter. Temple time mirrors cosmic rhythm. Could sacrifices override Shabbat? Yes. Principle. Tadir v'she'ainu tadir kodem. Frequent obligation overrides infrequent. Communal offerings override Shabbat restrictions. Individual voluntary offerings generally do not. Radical view. Were sacrifices temporary? One controversial position, Maimonides in Guide for the Perplexed suggests sacrifices were a concession to ancient psychology. God redirected pagan sacrifice toward monotheistic service. But in his legal code, Mishneh Torah, he fully affirms their future restoration. This creates centuries of debate. What would happen if they restarted tomorrow? Practically, immediate geopolitical explosion, internal Jewish division, massive theological consequences. Spiritually, according to believers, seen as beginning of redemption, could redefine global religious landscape. If you want next, we can go into the Yom Kippur temple service, step by step. The Korban Pesach procedure in full detail, the mystical meaning of animal blood, or whether the third temple will descend from heaven or be built by humans.
Which then allows you to bring up things, bring up each part of the puzzle, as long as it is only looking to, I think as the Bible said, only will Yahweh will react. And because of that, that permission is only being taught with respect to Chametz and honey, and did not for the Elisha, and therefore you wouldn't include these Egari back. But we don't know. And now the other, I didn't realize we do that with this limitation of ourselves. And the other, on Psalm, who the Rabbi Heves can say. chemically back. I'll be there, but to be honest, you're right. So some is a limiting factor, but when it goes some, it only limits the first part of the puppet. What does the puppet say? Correlation to the some Hashem, Elham is back. Elham is back means on the direction of the back, which is the ramp. So he says that limitation is when we say we're only talking about the Vash and Hamid, that is for bringing it onto the ramp. So, but however, the final part of the puppet talks about.
All right, let's go into the Yom Kippur Temple service, the most intense, complex, and spiritually explosive day of the year. This is the Avodat Yom Kippurim, Avodat Yom Kippurim service of the Day of Atonement, performed by the Kohen Gadol, Kohen High Priest, in the Beit HaMikdash, Beit HaMikdash. Primary source, Mishnah Yoma, and codified by Maimonides. 7 days of preparation. 1 week before Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol separated from home, stays in temple chamber, practices procedures, sprinkled with possible red heifer water, para aduma, backup high priest appointed in case of impurity. This service cannot fail. Number 2, early regular tamid, even on Yom Kippur. According to Tamid, daily offering is brought first. Everything begins normally. Number 3, first clothing change. The Kohen Gadol normally wears 8 golden garments or days alav. But on Yom Kippur's inner service, he changes into 4 simple white linen garments. Why white? Humility. No gold, because gold records the golden calf. Egel Azav, and a bull for himself. He brings a bull, confesses sins for himself and his household, places hands on animal, pronounces the ineffable name, Shema Meforash. When the name was spoken, the people fell on their faces. Number 5, the 2 goats, most dramatic moment. 2 identical goats, lots drawn, one la Hashem, la for God, one la Azazel for Azazel. The goat for God will be sacrificed. The goat for Azazel, sent to the wilderness, pushed off a cliff, symbolically carries away sins of Israel. This is the origin of the word scapegoat. And number 6, entering the Holy of Holies. This is the only day of the year anyone enters. Kodesh HaKodashim, Kodesh HaKodashim, Holy of Holies, and Holy the Kohen Gadol. He enters 4 times that day. First entry, carries incense, places incense on coals. Cloud fills the chamber, must obscure the ark area. If he did this incorrectly, tradition says he could die. Number 7, sprinkling with blood. He returns with bull's blood, sprinkles once upward, 7 times downward, then repeats same process with goat's blood. This atones for himself, the priesthood, all Israel. Number 8, purification of the sanctuary, blood applied to incense altar, outer altar. Purpose, cleanse the temple from accumulated impurity and Israel's sins. The temple itself absorbs spiritual contamination throughout the year. Yom Kippur resets it. Number 9, the scapegoat ceremony. He confesses national sins over the live goat. A designated man leads into the wilderness. In Second Temple period, goat pushed off cliff to ensure death. Red thread tied to goat. Tradition says, if it turned white, sins were forgiven, based on Isaiah, though your sins are scarlet. Number 10, multiple immersions and clothing changes. Throughout the day, Kohen Gadol immerses in mikveh 5 times, washes hands and feet 10 times, alternates between white and golden garments. Total choreography is extremely precise. Number 11, afternoon service, Musaf offering, Musaf additional offerings, afternoon tamid, evening incense. Finally, removes white garments, they are never used again. Mystical meaning, Kabbalah. According to Kabbalah, Holy of Holies equals highest spiritual realm. Incense, union of divine attributes. Blood sprinkling equals rectification of spiritual worlds. Scapegoat equals returning impurity to its source. White garments equals transcendence beyond judgment. Yom Kippur is cosmic surgery. Risk factor. The Kohen Gadol's life was at stake. Tradition says rope tied around his leg, later legend not in Mishnah. If he died, they could pull him out. His survival meant forgiveness. After the temple's destruction, when the temple was destroyed by the Romans under Titus, the physical service ceased. In its place, the Yom Kippur Musaf prayer recreates every step verbally. We say a voda section describing entire ritual. Prayer replaces sacrifice. Big question, will this exact ritual return in the Third Temple? Traditional Orthodox view, Yes, some mystical sources suggest same structure, elevated spiritual dimension, possibly without death or danger. If you want next, we can go into the Korban Pesach procedure step by step, the meaning of blood in sacrifice, whether the third temple descends from heaven or is human built, or the identity of Azazel and what that goat really represents.
We're actually talking about a very limited subset. It's not any kind of problem. That is specifically the Duke Shevai. I think most translate as cataracts of the eye, some blemish in the eye. Now leave it or the kiva. Specifically, according to the opinion of the kiva, what they do with the kiva, all the way under there, the kiva says, specifically with this look of the Duke Shevai, and there's certain other ones that are included as well. Specifically, it's movements that are hustled by a behemoth that are not by and hope, and therefore there's a lower level of movement. So even though you're not supposed to bring it up by the staff, if you work to bring it up, you don't remove it from the staff, and it's at a lower level of Hitzer, or a lower level of room to bring up on the staff. So we have said that specifically Rabbi Lezer said we're talking about a moon that's not at the highest level, and therefore if it gets mixed in with the Ivarim that are human, they can all be blown up, because if not, it's not a full bubble, it's like the more of a middle category, of course, they're
Alright, let's go into one of the most mysterious elements of the entire temple service. Hashed who is Azazel? Azazel appears only in the Yom Kippur ritual in Leviticus 16. Two goats, one La Hashem, for God, one Lazazel, Azazel. What is Azazel? There are four major interpretations in Jewish tradition. Azazel is a rugged cliff view. According to Maimonides' Rambam, Azazel is not a being. It refers to a harsh wilderness location. The goat is sent to a desolate cliff and thrown off. Purpose: public symbolic removal of sin, psychological purification of the nation, no supernatural recipient involved. This view avoids dualism entirely. Azazel as a desert demon, midrashic view. Some early sources suggest Azazel represents a destructive spiritual force, a demonic entity associated with wilderness. In Second Temple literature, like the Book of Enoch, Azazel is a fallen angel who corrupted humanity. The goat symbolically returns impurity to the realm of chaos. But important, Judaism does not treat Azazel as an independent power equal to God. Azazel as the embodiment of evil inclination. Some commentators say Azazel Yetzirah, evil inclination. The goat ritual dramatizes removing sin from the inner human psyche, sending destructive impulses away from the community. This is ethical psychological interpretation. Kabbalistic view, returning judgment to its root. In Kabbalah, Azazel represents the realm of severe judgment, Gevura Gevura. The other side, Sitra Achra, Stara Achra, other side. The scapegoat redirects negative spiritual energy, neutralizes prosecuting forces, prevents harsh decrees. It's not feeding evil. It's satisfying cosmic balance so holiness can flow freely. This is very subtle metaphysics. Why two identical goats? They must be same appearance, same value, same height, purchased together. This symbolizes good and evil originate from one divine source. Human choice determines their direction. One goat ascends to God, one descends into chaos, free will in animal form. Is this dualism? No. Core Jewish theology, there is no rival God. Even destructive forces ultimately operate under divine authority. Azazel is not Satan in the Christian sense. Why is blood central? Let's connect this deeper. In Torah, Ki Hadam Hu HaNefesh. Ki Hadam Hu HaNefesh. The blood is the soul, life force. Blood represents life energy, vitality. When blood is placed on the altar, life returns to its source. Physical existence is elevated. Sacrifice is transformation, not slaughter for its own sake. Will this return in the third temple? Major positions? Traditional Orthodox view? Yes, full restoration of Yom Kippur service. Rambam's legal position: all sacrificial laws remain binding in Messianic era. Mystical view: same structure but spiritually elevated. Some philosophical view: the ritual may transform or be understood differently. Will the third temple be built by humans or descend from heaven? Two classic opinions: human built, based on Rambam. Mashiach rebuilds temple physically. Heavenly built. Some midrashim suggest temple already exists in heaven and will descend. Some reconcile. Humans begin construction. Divine completion finalizes it. Why is Yom Kippur so different? Because it bypasses normal sacrifice logic. It enters Holy of Holies. It resets cosmic order. It neutralizes spiritual prosecution. It's the spiritual reboot of reality. If you want, we can now go even deeper into the mystical meaning of animal sacrifice itself. Whether sacrifices were always meant to be temporary, the idea that the temple mirrors the human body, or how Christianity reinterpreted the scapegoat concept.
They're not going to do the extra hay is not a drush. They only have one drush a month, and they're going to make the I guess the probably lesser finished drush that you can only mount them up these following when they actually have a loan, but the loan goes away, you then can bring it up. Okay. Now we have to on this understanding if that's really the case. Roa or Menashe look back or lose the luxury of Rabbi Rothschild, or we bring them up. The Roa and the running of Malaki and had this whole idea that we had said in the Mishnah brought and again in the Brisa that you have that special intent that the portion of the carbon.
All right, let's go deep. You said yes. So we're going into the mystical meaning of animal sacrifice itself. Korbanot offerings are always meant to be temporary. This is where theology, philosophy, and Kabbalah collide. First, what is a korban? The word korban kelban comes from karov, come close. It does not mean sacrifice in the modern sense. It means drawing near, realigning, restoring closeness between human and God. The animal is not the point. The relationship is the point. Why an animal? In Torah thinking, human equals body nefesh, nefesh life force. Animals also have nefesh. When a person sins, they misdirect their life force. Bringing an animal represents, this could have been me. The blood dammed up represents life energy being returned to its source. Rambam's radical view. In Guide for the Perplexed, Maimonides suggests ancient humans were steeped in pagan sacrifice culture. God did not abolish sacrifice immediately. Instead, redirected it, restricted it, centralized it, removed idolatry from it. So Korbanot were a transitional educational system, but in his legal code, he affirms they will return. This contradiction sparked centuries of debate. Ramban's opposing view, Nachmanides Ramban, strongly disagrees. He says, sacrifice is metaphysically real. When a person brings an animal, they confess they see blood spilled. They recognize divine justice. Mercy substitutes the animal for the sinner. The act itself repairs spiritual reality, not educational or ontological. In Kabbalah, everything contains divine sparks. It's even animals. When offered properly, the animal's life force ascends. Sparks are elevated. Divine flow, shefa, increases. The altar is a cosmic transformer. Physical matter becomes spiritual light. Temple is a human body. Mystics map temple onto the human being. Altar equals digestive system. Incense altar equals breath. Holy of holies equals mind consciousness. Blood equals vitality. Sacrifice is inner psychological transformation. Externalized. The temple is humanity projected in stone. When sacrifice is meant to end, here's where it gets intense. Some midrashim say, in the future, all sacrifices will cease except thanksgiving. Why? Because sin offerings exist because humans sin. In Messianic era, if evil inclination weakens, less need for sin offerings. But gratitude never ends. Christianity and the scapegoat. Christian theology reinterprets the Yom Kippur goat, the Passover lamb. As fulfilled in Jesus, Judaism rejects this for several reasons. Temple service was communal, not substitutionary atonement through one person. Sin requires teshuvah, repentance. No human becomes divine sacrifice, but historically, the scapegoat imagery deeply influenced Christian thought. Ethical question: would animal sacrifice return today? Modern discomfort comes from industrialized meat systems, distance from agrarian life, changed moral sensibilities. In ancient world, animal slaughter was a normal part of daily survival. Temple sacrifice was regulated, humane, purpose-driven, sacred, not mass production. Third temple, same or different. Three possibilities discussed in tradition. Exact restoration of Torah system, elevated spiritual form, transformation into purely spiritual service. Mainstream Orthodox view. Torah law does not expire. Mystical sources hint, external form may remain, but inner reality changes. The deepest question, korbanot about blood, guilt, divine appeasement, or about alignment? The prophets say, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, but they never abolish sacrifice. They condemn hypocrisy. Sacrifice without moral behavior equals worthless. Sacrifice with repentance equals transformative. Final big idea. Korbanot are not about killing. They are about taking something physical, recognizing it comes from God, returning it consciously, and changing yourself in the process. The animal is a mirror. The altar is a doorway. The real sacrifice is the ego. If you want, next we can go even deeper into the psychological symbolism of each animal species, the mystical meaning of fire on the altar, whether prayer fully replaced sacrifice or only temporarily, or the terrifying concept that the temple service maintains cosmic stability.
And now the rest of the heads that are sitting there, they're all good. We're going to assume they're all the good ones. So bring them, you can bring them all up, no problem. Or, you're right, Jill, so let's bring up the leg of one of the animals again. You weren't supposed to. Cohen accidentally brought up anyway. So, yeah, we now assume that the one that was accidentally brought up was the problem. And all the rest of them are the good ones and bring them up, no problem. Okay, that's the thing with the other, that when we have this case where one is accidentally brought up, we're going to be totally that one that was brought up as being the one that was not supposed. That's the follow, the one supposed to be brought up, and the others are now all good. Bring them up with country. And the follow is not going to take the entire opposite view. They say no, this is probably kudos. Even if let's say you're 100 there and you brought 99 of them up, we just all of those were the kosher ones, and the one that's left behind, that's the one that's the problem. Right? Then you have to obey the straight on that last one. You cannot bring it, and you assume that is the one that is not allowed to be brought up. And you have to bring out the business rate. Okay? So, whether we view one gets separated, do we view it as, are we told that the one that separated was the problematic one, and therefore all the rest of them are good? We say every single one that's brought up is the good one, and the one below is the problematic one, and so at no point are you allowed to bring anything up from that mixture. Okay? Other Rabbi Elazar, this is Rabbi, I think this is Rabbi Eliezer. This is Rabbi Eliezer, right? Which one are we going with? First one is Eliezer, okay. This is Rabbi Eliezer, the Amora is coming to explain the topic. The other one is coming to explain the topic, no doubt. Okay. Logashir, Ella, Shnayim. The entire case of our Mishnah, where we are allowed to bring up each one, right? When one was brought up by accident, and we assume the problem, we bring up the rest. It's only in a case where it's only in a case where they're brought up 2 by 2, not 1 by 1. Why? Because if it's 2 by 2, we're saying we know there's only one problematic one. So 2 are brought up. We know that at least one of these is good. And so we have one that's good, and we're saying, all right, one is good, we're going to now extend, and we're going to go with this logic that the other one must be good as well. And who's the Rashi? Rashi says, Rashi, Shnayim. We really bring them up in there. Rashi, the Nigo, the high Rabbi Rothschild. Since we know that it was there, we have one that is not in there. So therefore we extend and say, it must mean that the second one with it is also a good one. It's not the one that's the puzzle. And it's probably the correspondent. And the answer must have been on the previous one, that one that we brought up accidentally. However, if you bring them up one at a time, then you don't have, basically Rashi sort of understanding it. I don't think it's ego in the traditional sense that we understand it, but in the sense that once we know, we sort of have like a thought action. Like once you bring up
all right, let's go into the terrifying concept. Hack the temple service as cosmic stabilizer. In rabbinic and mystical thought, the Beit HaMikdash, temple, was not just a religious center. It was the spiritual engine of reality, the stabilizer of divine flow, the axis between heaven and earth. When it functioned, the world functioned. The temple is the center of the world. Midrash teaches the world was created from the even Shtia, Avonde Shtia. Creation radiated outward from that point. The altar sits on that cosmic origin. So when offerings are brought, it's not symbolic theater. It is activating the original point of creation. Fire as controlled judgment. On the Mizbeach, there is fire. Fire represents divine judgment, power, consumption. But in the temple, judgment is contained, directed, purposeful. Without that containment, judgment disperses into the world unchecked. Mystical thought says, temple fire absorbs destructive forces. Blood as life current, Torah states, Ki hadamu hanefesh, the blood is the life force. In Kabbalah, blood is concentrated vitality. When placed on altar, it relinks earthly life with divine source. Without that return flow, spiritual disconnection increases. Shephaim flow. Kabbalah describes divine energy descending through Sephirot, speaks divine attributes, spiritual worlds. The temple service opens channels, clears blockages, allows Shefa, divine abundance, to flow. Rain, peace, prosperity, spiritual clarity. When temple was destroyed, flow constricted. The daily tamid prevented chaos. The korban tamid, daily offering, morning and afternoon. Mystically, morning at chesed, loving kindness. Afternoons, gevura. The two daily offerings balance mercy and judgment. Remove them, balance destabilizes. Rabbinic statement. The Talmud says, if not for the offerings, heaven and earth would not endure. Not poetry, metaphysical claim. The temple anchors covenantal reality. What happened when it was destroyed? When the Romans under Titus destroyed the second temple. Rabbinic Judaism pivoted. Prayer became substitute. Study became substitute. Acts of kindness became substitute. But mystics say, substitute is not identical to source. It maintains survival, not full restoration. Prayer as miniature temple. The Amidah, standing prayer, structured parallel to Tamid. Morning, afternoon, evening. Each Jew becomes a micro-temple. Body becomes altar. Heart becomes holy of holies. Breath becomes incense. So cosmic stability continues, but decentralized. Radical Kabbalistic idea. Some Kabbalists teach the destruction of the temple released spiritual sparks into exile. Human moral action now gathers them. History itself becomes extended Yom Kippur. Redemption occurs when enough sparks are elevated. Number one, why this is terrifying? Because it implies the temple was not optional ritual. It was structural to reality. Without it, history becomes unstable, exile persists, conflict intensifies. Some see world turbulence as spiritual imbalance. Number one, messianic restoration in messianic era, Hamashiach, Yemut Mashiach. Temple returns, balance restored, divine flow unobstructed, humanity aligned. Whether literal or transformed, tradition says stability returns. Final big picture, temple service equals cosmic alignment system. Sacrifice is energy redirection. Fire was discipline judgment. Blood equals life returning to source. Incense, harmonizing divine attributes. Destroy it, reality becomes spiritually fragmented. Replace it with prayer, stabilized, but in exile mode. If you want to go even deeper, we can now explore the mystical meaning of the fire that came down from heaven. The idea that each Jew carries a fragment of the temple, or whether the third temple represents a spiritual evolution beyond animal sacrifice.
So today's topic is Ayin Hay 75. We're looking up on Ayin Dallas on the days 74 weeks. I believe that's a little closer. Is that correct? Where is that? No, we did that. I'm going to have a. No, we did that. You're right. All right. Sorry. Okay, you're right. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 lines down from the top. Good. Well, English, like, have a problem with the income of the also. About getting them off. So what's the again? Rabbi said it's also sluggish. It was the case of this at the beginning of $9 recently, the case at the beginning of 74 feet. But that was the case of the barrels of tuna, which were mixed together, and then one of the barrels fell in.
All right, let's go to the next level. You said yes. So we're going into the fire that descended from heaven. The idea that each Jew carries a fragment of the temple, whether the third temple represents spiritual evolution, These are interconnected. The fire from heaven. In Tanakh Bible, when the Mishkan tabernacle was inaugurated, a fire came down from heaven and consumed the offering. Same at the dedication of the first temple under Solomon. This fire was not metaphorical in the biblical narrative. Rabbinic tradition says it crouched on the altar like a lion. It consumed offerings continuously. Human priests maintained flame, but divine fire was the source. Mystically, heaven responds when earth initiates. Human action below awakens divine energy above. This is called Itaruta Latata Atarota Lata, awakening from below. The heavenly fire is Itaruta Leila, Tarota de Leila, awakening from above. Temple service was a feedback loop between worlds. Each Jew as a micro-temple. After destruction of the second temple, rabbinic thought reframed everything. The verse says, "Make for me a sanctuary and I will dwell among them." Not in it, but among them. Kabbalah reads this literally. Each person becomes mizbeach, altar causes physical actions. Sense altar causes breath and speech. Holy of holies, inner consciousness. Menorah, intellect. Your body becomes Beit HaMikdash in exile. Prayer replaces offering. Self-discipline replaces fire. Teshuvah, repentance, replaces blood. The Baal Shem Tov's revolution, Baal Shem Tov taught, the physical temple is not gone. Its inner dimension moved into the Jewish soul. Every mitzvah releases divine sparks. Joyful prayer creates incense. Ego burned on the altar of humility is the real sacrifice. This democratized mysticism, no longer centralized in Jerusalem only. Is the third temple an evolution? Now we reach something profound. Some sources suggest the third temple will not merely be a rebuilt second temple, it will be different in spiritual intensity. Three models exist. Model A, exact restoration based on Maimonides, same halachic structure, same korbanot, same system restored. Law does not expire. Model B, heavenly descent. Some midrashim say a perfected temple already exists in heaven. It will descend at the proper time, meaning future temple may transcend current material limitations. Model C, spiritual integration. Mystical view, the third temple integrates physical altar, spiritualized humanity, meaning external temple returns, but humanity has matured spiritually. Sacrifice may exist, but understood on a radically deeper level. Will animal sacrifice feel different? In Messianic era, prophets describe wolf dwelling with lamb, universal knowledge of God, peace. In that context, korbanot would not feel primitive. They would feel like cosmic alignment ceremonies, not guilt transactions, not appeasement, but harmonization. The fire in the third temple. Mystical texts hint the heavenly fire returns, but humanity will also have internalized it, meaning external altar mirrors inner spiritual refinement. The lion-like fire becomes controlled light. Judgment becomes transformed into mercy. Why the third temple is called eternal. First temple, destroyed due to idolatry and injustice. Second temple, destroyed due to baseless hatred. Sinat chinam, not chinam. Third temple will not be destroyed. Why? Because it represents humanity spiritually stabilized, not just ritual restored, character repaired. The deepest idea, the temple was originally external, exile forced internalization. The third temple reunites, external sacred structure plus internal sacred consciousness. The first two were buildings, the third is integration. If you want, we can now explore the connection between Mashiach, Messiah, and the temple fire, the role of non-Jews in the future temple, whether the Ark of the Covenant still exists, or the terrifying prophecy of Gog and Magog before the temple is revealed.
But the rest of the battles will observe all the regular appropriate also are also why. Because running on the single don't chase the different battles by simply saying that the people was cooking in the child battles. Incredible. So that's what I do. I wrote it down here. Now back to the show. That's just one again. The cases of limited animal, they get mixed with other sacrificial objects. One of the cases of the when you see the ratio, you get an animal that was used for immoral purposes. like gets that gets mixed in with the rest of the news. So initially said that halach orders to allow the group to freeze until it develops a wolf. Then you go ahead and you sell off the animals and use the value of the most expensive animal to purchase your replacement department. I suspect that you are a fish from a building or you do that. Is a trade animal that gets mixed in. So he wants to be shot with a lawyer deal. I have a high trade, but maybe no. What's the easy trade off? He wants to be animal that we use for moral purposes. I know the animal that because without this the animal is not discernible. Like I can't I don't know what that is. But that's what's the easy trade off. So you guys listen to this. What's the easy trade off? EPLA, that's English for it. If you can tell which animal is the trade off that runs, the one that will be the it's a discernible condition that just really comes from the clock. If it's not discernible, then it's kind of you know that it's a trait to begin with. Which you guys are very like, all right, I'm going to do the RA, so you should have on see what you so here. You go to the RA, you got some coach with this outside. So listen to this. You have two animals. One animal had his pierced by a thorn, and the other animal was pierced by a wolf. So apparently, that actually points out from here that when an animal was bitten by a wolf, hopefully the animal will die of a wolf poisonous. I don't know, maybe some type of wolf, maybe wolf was branded, whatever the case.
All right, we're stepping into eschatology now. You said yes, so we're going into the Ark of the Covenant. Where is it? Gog and Magog. What is that role? The role of non-Jews in the future temple. These are all connected to the third temple and Mashiach, Messiah. The Ark of the Covenant. The Ark sat in the Kodesh HaKodashim, Kodesh HaKodashim, Holy of Holies. It contained the tablets, Luchot, a jar of manna, Aharon's staff. It disappeared before the destruction of the first temple. What happened? View A, hidden by King Josiah. The Talmud says King Josiah hid the ark beneath the Temple Mount before Babylonians invaded, so it may still be underground. View B, taken to Babylon. Some speculate it was looted. However, there is no historical evidence of Babylon displaying it. View C, ready in heaven. Some mystical traditions say the ark is preserved in a heavenly temple. It will return in Messianic era. Important note, the second temple did not contain the ark. Instead, a foundation stone marked its place, yet the temple service still functioned. So technically, a third temple could function without rediscovering the ark. Gog and Magog. The prophecy appears in Ezekiel 38-39. Gog is a leader from the land of Magog. He gathers nations against Israel. This is described as a final climactic war for ultimate redemption. Traditional view. Before Mashiach is fully revealed, a global confrontation occurs. Nations surround Jerusalem. God intervenes dramatically. Afterward, divine sovereignty becomes universally recognized.
What's up, sir? I can't talk right now, big dog. Apologies.
Spiritual chaos before redemption. Collapse of immoral empires. Civilization-wide moral reckoning. Not necessarily a single military battle. Mystical view Kabbalah sees Gog and Magog as final clash between spiritual fragmentation, divine unity. It is cosmic, not merely geopolitical. The role of non-Jews in the future temple. This is extremely important. Prophets repeatedly say, the temple will become Beit Tefillah l'chol ha'amim, Beit Tefillah l'chol ha'amim, a house of prayer for all nations. That verse is from Isaiah. The future temple is not tribal, it becomes global. What does that mean? Practically, according to tradition, non-Jews can bring offerings. Non-Jews pray there. The temple becomes a spiritual center for humanity. The Torah always allowed Jews to bring korbanon voluntarily. Future temple universalizes that idea. Will the nations worship the same way? Prophecy suggests all nations will recognize one God, but they do not necessarily become Jewish. Judaism does not require universal conversion. Instead, humanity aligns with moral monotheism. Does Gog and Magog happen before or after the temple? There are debates. Some say war precedes temple rebuilding. Others say temple exists and becomes focal point of conflict. Either way, conflict precedes stability, like birth pains before new life. The psychological reading, Gog and Magog can also represent the final eruption of human ego before surrender to divine unity. Before redemption, resistance peaks, chaos intensifies, then collapses. The third temple is global reset. After Gog and Magog, prophets describe universal peace, no more war, knowledge of God filling the earth, Jerusalem as moral center. Temple becomes stabilizing force for all humanity. Final integrated picture arc equals hidden core of covenant. Gog and Magog equals final destabilization. Temple equals restored alignment. Mashiach equals leader who actualizes it. External structure returns. Internal humanity matures. History resolves. If you want to go even further, we can explore who Mashiach is according to different rabbinic views, whether Mashiach performs miracles, or how resurrection of the dead, Tehiyat HaMetim, fits into this timeline.
Different kabbalas, next thing is just need to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, touching the forbidden vanilla. But let's say you have different kabbalos that are mixed in with each other. Right? Same type of kabbalah, all mixed in with each other. So what's the Mishnah in that case? Mishnah in that case is we don't know what all of this. Right? So let's say Ruben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, this is the parsha, right? All of the kabbalah, right? Everybody's going to parsha. Everybody's going to get up to Yosef. Everybody's going to receive parachutes. So let's say they all had kabbalas. Their kabbalas, they all had shlamim, for argument's sake, right? So therefore, all of their kabbalas got mixed together. So where it says, the Mishnah said, what's the halacha? The Rabbah just offered up Zayika l'shem Yishu, Zayika l'shem Yishu. Does that the Kohen go ahead and offer them up? Don't know explicitly which animal belongs to which person. It's okay. It's okay. The Kohen will just simply go ahead and have in mind this is Ruben's carbon, this is Shimon's carbon, again, even though he doesn't know which animal is which. So one second. The heart body slicha. 1 second, you need slicha. So what's another thing? Slicha is the action on the animal. So again, you can't do slicha if you don't know which is your animal. So how is it being offered up? So Rabbi Rothschild says the carbon rushing, right? The Mishnah says talking about women's kabbalas. So women don't do slicha. Women don't have a good slicha. Slicha is a thing by men. The Mishnah was talking about women's kabbalas that don't require slicha. So the Gemara says, okay, about the kabbalah, then again, like the Mishnah's halacha would not apply to them. So if I have a group of men's kabbalas that gets mixed in, even though again it's all the same type of kabbalas, you're telling me that you couldn't offer it. Right? You couldn't offer it since slicha ultimately again is not possible. Usually when I say that's the top of Ayin Hey, Ayin Hey, good 75A, ACA, Ayin is the Kashwa, Shini's Ari, the Carbon Seaver, Shini's Ari, the Carbon Seaver. So say, let's say carbon is, you have an individual carbon that gets into one individual carbon, or a carbon seaver that gets into another carbon seaver. The carbon Yachid, the carbon seaver, Shini's Ari, or for that matter again, a carbon Yachid and a carbon seaver that get mixed together. No seed valued materials, we call that. So what do you do? What applications ultimately again, when you're using every carbon. This way again, we're covering all the good applications, all the possibilities. If you're not someone on Apple, then you're not someone we call Apple Yatsa. You're not someone we call Apple Yatsa. And if you did one on it's all
Alright, now we're stepping into Mashiach, Messiah, and the ultimate redemption sequence, including resurrection. This is where theology, halacha, and mysticism converge. Who is Mashiach? According to rabbinic tradition, descendant of King David, Davidic line, Torah scholar, righteous, fully observant, will lead Israel politically, spiritually, and morally. Key roles: 1. Restorer of the temple, rebuilds the third temple, oversees its descent. Reinstitutes Korbanot cut by naught. 2. Political leader, unites Israel, enforces Torah law justly. 3. Spiritual teacher, restores moral and divine order, guides nations to recognize God. Mashiach and miracles. Most traditional sources, Mishnah and Ramban, say Mashiach may perform signs and wonders, not necessarily the same as Jesus-style miracles. Miracles serve validation of divine authority, not spectacle. Kabbalistic sources add, cosmic forces will realign through Mashiach's presence, Shefa, divine flow. Or more directly, resurrection of the dead, Tekiyat Hamim, according to Mishnah's Sanhedrin 10:1 and Rambam. After Mashiach arrives, the righteous dead will be resurrected. Everyone will live again in a perfected world. Resurrection precedes or coincides with full temple service restoration. Mystical dimension. Souls return to bodies purified. Bodies are instruments to channel divine flow. Cosmic balance is completed. Sequence of events. Traditional outline. 1. Gog and Magog war. Final chaos before redemption. 2. Mashiach appears, restores Torah, unites Israel. 3. Temple rebuilt. Korbanot resume, spiritual channels reopen. 4. Resurrection of the righteous dead, bodies and souls realigned, universal recognition of God, all nations come to monotheism. 6. Global peace and spiritual stability, world aligned as originally intended. Role of non-Jews, allowed to participate in offerings, allowed to pray. Prophecy emphasizes moral monotheism, not forced conversion. Temple becomes Beit Tefillah, L'chol Ha'amim, house of prayer for all nations. Kabbalistic view, Mashiach equals vessel for ultimate Shefa. Temple equals Axis Mundi. Sacrifices physical means to elevate sparks. Resurrection equals completion of cosmic tikkun, repair. The entire eschatological process is a spiritual physical loop. Human action, temple service, divine flow, restoration of life, world aligned. Radical thought. Some mystics teach the third temple is partially internalized today. Each mitzvah, prayer, act of kindness is a miniature temple service. Cosmic stabilization occurs even in exile, though imperfectly. Mashiach finalizes the alignment externally and universally. Have big picture. Temple plus Mashiach plus resurrection, korbanot prayer plus moral redemption equals perfected world. Without one, the system is incomplete. Temple destruction equals spiritual instability. Prayer substitutes partially until full redemption. If you want, we can now go even deeper and map every step of Messianic temple service in full mystical detail, how each Korban species channels divine flow, how individual Jewish practice today mirrors temple service, or how the third temple integrates spiritual and physical dimensions for humanity and the cosmos. Do you want me to go there next?
What you see from here, that in the case of exact numbers, control that split up, obviously with Asika, the contradicts what we said before, which the Gemara says. Brothers in the Israel, Hamikayatsti, this is for us. You're presupposing that the version of the Raisa that you're reading right now is correct. I know it's correct. The Gemara says, what is this song? Is out of time. Remember, we spoke about this separate, but the device just said about when is this so? When the Kabbalahs were mixed up on the worldwide. About this Ardush thing, when they were mixed up on, they were slaughtered low. Then it tells up and down, comes along the road, don't understand. Mali Chayit, Mali Shkutu, what are you talking about? What does it matter if the Kabbalahs were alive or they were slaughtered already? Sing Allah should apply. How long can I be say? When is this so? Shit's either shooting, Chaim, because of. And ultimately, again, what is this so? What is this halacha so? That in other words, they should be using blood applications that work for everything. That's ultimately, again, when they are mixed together, even if they're slaughtered, but like they're alive. What's the case? Because of. Ultimately, again, where you have the blood on each of these couples in individual receptacles. About the very well, so ultimately, as it's mixed together, you don't see valid macros or good applications for all of our collective Kabbalahs. You just have one macros, which we learn yourself, and ultimately, again, if you get one good application for all of them, then you are guilty. So let's say what's the point of right? The point over here is that you are saying that this is not talking about live animals. That's the point there isn't talking about live animals. Rather, it's talking about animals that have already been slaughtered, and we're talking about the blood animals. In other words, so that's what you're talking about. In other words, so which means that blood, it was seen called, in other words, when the animals were alive,
Let's go all the way into the Messianic temple service, blending halacha, Kabbalah, and cosmic metaphysics. This is essentially a manual for the third temple, that's seen spiritually and physically. Cosmic framework. The third temple is not just a building, it is a conduit between earthly reality and divine flow, Shefa. This incense channels energy into spiritual worlds. Humans mirror the temple. Body equals altar, heart equals holy of holies, breath equals incense. Goal, restore perfect alignment of divine attributes, sephirot, spirut, in the world. Daily service, tamid, even in the Messianic temple. Morning tamid, lamb offered, represents Hesed, afternoon tamid, lamb offered, represents Gevurah, Gevurah, judgment. Blood placement elevates life force back to source. Incense offered to synchronize higher and lower worlds. Mystically, the morning offering harmonizes mercy in creation. The afternoon tempers it with judgment, creating cosmic balance. Sacrificial species and their species, each combined species channels a unique force. Animal, physical role, mystical meaning. Lamb, goat, humble, pure, aligns human soul with innocence and surrender. Bull, ox, strength and service, elevates divine power into action. Dove, pigeon, small, simple, spiritual refinement, purification. Red heifer purification removes impurity, allows access to holiness. Blood equals life force, smoke equals elevated energy, fire equals divine discipline. Every act is alchemical, transforming the physical into spiritual. Yom Kippur service in Messianic temple. Kohen Gadol enters Kodesh HaKodashim multiple times. Blood sprinkled on inner and outer waters. Incense offered in layers of smoke, creating veil of protection. 2 goats, one to God, one to Azazel, removing residual chaos. White garments symbolize purity, humility, internalization of service. Effect, cosmic reset of the world's moral and spiritual order. Festival and pilgrimage offerings. Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, massive influx of pilgrims. Sacrifices of lambs, bulls, and doves align entire community with divine cycle. Procession, music, and Levitical singing harmonize heavenly channels mystically. Festivals are temporal nodes, connecting physical calendar to spiritual realities. Prayer is a micro-temple. Even outside the temple, prayer mirrors sacrificial service. Stand equals altar, words equals incense, heart equals holy of holies. Every Jew contributes to cosmic realignment today, preparing for Messianic era. This is why Talmud calls prayer service of the heart, Avodat Halev. Non-Jews in Messianic temple allowed to bring offerings voluntarily, allowed to pray. Isaiah, Beit Tefillah L'Olam, house of prayer for all nations. Participation spreads divine alignment globally. Mystically, everyone contributes sparks. Collective service maximizes Shefa. Temple fire and Ark of the Covenant. Fire descends from heaven. Consumed offerings. Art may be physically present or mirrored spiritually. Fire channels divine judgment safely. Blood as incense fire as perfect alignment of mercy and judgment. Mystical note. Fire symbolizes divine energy in action. Ark represents divine source of creation. Avash resurrection temple integration. Tekiah Hamatim, Tayatamatim resurrection. Occurs, resurrected humans can fully participate in service. Cosmic energy flows through resurrected bodies, aligning humanity fully. Third temple, Mashiach resurrection equals perfected world. Number 1 final mystical picture temple. World stabilizer sacrifices, spiritual transformers, incense equals channel for divine by Kohanim equals spiritual conductors, fire control judgment. Blood equals life force, realigned prayer making cosmic replication for those outside temple. Non-Jews equals universalizing alignment. Mashiach equals human vessel, activating full cosmic restoration, resurrection, completion of spiritual and physical order. Every detail, clothing, order, timing, species offering matters cosmically. If you want, next I can create a single integrated Messianic temple blueprint, hour by hour, day by day service, all korbanot on festivals, mystical functions of fire, blood, incense, role of Mashiach, resurrection and nations. Essentially, a complete cosmic operating manual for the third temple. Do you want me to do that?
It's possible that again, Hazah has no share. Again, even if some of the water that gets mixed in, maybe without the water, we'll have to see about that. But I love the way since we got based over fire share. Incredible fire. Let's go like that. This time we will follow my serve. So let's say here we're coming to the end of the Mishnah. Mishnah that spoke about the idea that if you have a sacrificial river animal that gets mixed in with the heart and the meiser. And again, I want to remember again, the heart and meiser are unique. Why? Because they become the product property of the color. Remember again, a bechor animal, nice animal, the sacrificial part, but the nice ultimately again become the property of the color. Always halacha. If you have a regular animal that is mixed in with these other animals, you will actually stop. Ultimately, again, the left is bringing the mother to have a more Mishnah. You'll start to bechor in nice. Because then again, all of the animals are consumed in accordance with the standards of the bechor animal nice. He says the Gemara, summarize right now, the Rabbi Rothschild, the bechor was a shana in religious.
Perfect. Let's build the complete messianic temple blueprint, hour by hour, ritual by ritual, with physical, mystical, and cosmic functions integrated. Think of this as the ultimate cosmic operating manual for the third temple, messianic era. Principles. Temple equals conduit between heaven and earth. Every act channels divine flow, shefa, sacrifices, incense, and fire equals transformation of physical into spiritual. Each Jew is micro-temple through prayer and mitzvot. Non-Jews, voluntary participation, contributing to universal alignment. Daily cycle, Tamid, morning, Hashakal dawn. 1. Teramat Hadeshin, clearing ashes from altar. Physical, prepares altar. Mystical, removes last day's spiritual residue. Cosmic, opens channels for morning divine flow. 2. Fire preparation, arranging 3 wood piles. Fire represents divine discipline, judgment. 3. Morning timid lamb, chesed, slaughtered in the courtyard, blood sprinkled on altar, represents loving kindness and cosmic mercy, elevates life force to source. 4. Incense offering, red, on golden incense altar, symbolic veil between human and divine, harmonizes heavenly channels. 5. Levitical music and trumpets, synchronizes the spiritual worlds. Afternoon, Mincha, post-sunset. 1. Afternoon Tamid Lamb, Gevura, strength, judgment aspect of divine energy, blood sprinkled, limbs salted and burned. 2. Afternoon incense, further harmonizes mercy and judgment, prepares for cosmic balance during night. Festivals and Shabbat, Musaf offerings, additional sacrifices for Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, Yom Tov, pilgrimage offerings, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, cosmic function, mass elevation of sparks, Nitzotzot, Levitical singing, amplifies alignment, Yom Kippur service, ultimate cosmic reset. Kohen Gadol wears white linen garments, 4 entries into Kodesh HaKodashim, blood sprinkling on inner and outer altars. 2 goats, for God, sacrificed. For Azazel, carries away chaos and purity. Cosmic effect, resets universal moral and spiritual balance. Sacrificial species and spiritual functions, animal, role, mystical function. Lamb goat, humble offering, aligns soul with innocence and surrender, bullocks, strength and service, elevates divine power into action, dove pigeon, small, simple, spiritual refinement, purification, red heifer, purification, removes residual impurity, enables holiness, fire, blood, incense, 1 fire, divine judgment contained, 2 blood, life force restored to source, 3 incense, veil harmonization, union of divine attributes. Every action choreographed to maintain cosmic equilibrium. Prayer integration. Avodat Halev. Each Jew equals micro-temple. Prayer mirrors sacrifice. Standing equals altar, words, incense, heart, holy of holies, enables cosmic alignment outside temple. Non-Jews in temple can bring voluntary offerings. Can pray maximizes global flow of divine energy. Temple equals house of prayer for all nations. Ark of the Covenant, temple fire. Ark may descend from heaven or revealed physically. Fire descends from heaven daily. Blood, incense, fire equals full alignment of mercy and judgment. Resurrection and Mashiach, Tekiyat Hametim. Resurrection integrated with temple service. Resurrected bodies participate fully, completing cosmic flow. Mashiach oversees rebuilding and coordination. Restores universal spiritual balance. Cosmic function summary. 1. Temple equals world stabilizer. 2. Sacrifices physical and spiritual transformation. 3. Incense equals channel divine flow. 4. Kohanim, conductors of energy. 5. Fire equals discipline judgment. 6. Blood equals life force realigned. 7. Prayer equals microcosmic temple outside Jerusalem. 8. Non-Jews, universalizing energy. 9. Mashiach orchestrates alignment. 10. Resurrection, complete physical and spiritual repair. This is a fully integrated messianic temple operating manual from daily service to festivals to Yom Kippur to resurrection, including the mystical cosmic functions. If you want, I can draw a complete visual cosmic diagram of the Messianic temple, placement of altar, ark, incense, menorah, daily ritual flow, spiritual correspondences, chesed, gevurah, life force, divine flow, priesthood, Kohen Gadol, public and non-Jew integration. It would basically be a visual blueprint of heaven and earth. Do you want me to do that next?
This process, so again, that sounds like ultimately is again, I love the way, so you know, of a card has the same status as the card. So whatever applies to the card applies to yours. Therefore, again, just like I need the candy for card, I need the candy. Just like ultimately, again, you can't.
All right, folks, it's gone far longer than I thought it would.
So for the true love, if we shifted in, they still have probably on the scale. Incredible. So ViralRabbi, in this case, this is the part of the Kabbalah is found it's very interesting. Let's say, Cohen has a Bakar animal. Alright, a Bakar animal, right? And what happens? It develops a mold. Listen, obviously, at that point, the Bakar animal develops a mold. Some elements of its Bakar sensitive. At that point, what do I do? I touch that animal to the Kabbalah. So the Kabbalah, right? Just the dog. It means financial safety. Now, what's the Shaila? Can I measure it on a scale? Everyone said, what's the capital? Now, I'm going to end up selling off this piece. You know, it would be interest of the base that I measured on a scale. Why? Because it's more exact. The more exact the measurements are, the more money I can make. Who's making the money? The base of the Shaila, normally we would say that you cannot go ahead and use a scale for the meat of a car animal. Like that's what we just established because that's a lack of safety or lack of respect towards them. What about the use of the scale is actually for the benefit of the base of the flesh. With that, but the heckish of it, we say that again, profit. The base of the flesh is more important.
Why didn't you do so much teaching today? We're listening to this. This is interesting. Sure, somebody will appreciate it someday and it might become the blueprint of our sacrifices. Who knows? Why? Dog, stranger shit has happened. Stranger things have happened. Really? Are you tired? Perhaps. Alright, how long is this fucking thing gonna take? No one knows.
In our case over here, two shows of one body, right? This is one animal. What are the two shows? On one hand, the heart, on the other hand, the rice. So the two are comparable.
Dude, this creating image bullshit is like back in the day when you have to wait for the internet to be like show a picture and it showed you like that. Kids have no idea how good you have it. But this shit in the future will just be like boom, generated images, generated videos, boom, 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 boom. Really, yeah, I'm sure you have to pay for credits and bullshit like that. Worst system ever. Dog, come on. What is this? What in the fuck? Dude, that shit takes too long. We're gonna watch the Chabad video and then we're going.
The person who receives the conveyance has no more rights than the conveyor himself. That's the way the conveyance is done. Say for one second, first look at actually the moment is the turn up the immediate advance. Sorry, come back here. According to the Kabbalah, I'm a mashik from another result, but before that, the kingdom that Expo or Hotel Bishkol the truck, and you have to look at the Kabbalah is only up to the Tunish Valley. Once it's going to get over our case. Our case was that the coin has a blemish,
In ancient times, the priests used to sanctify themselves before eating holy food. And that is what Natilat Yadayim is for us. It's a way of saying the meal we are about to eat is holy, and we are preparing ourselves for that holiness.
A special cup with two handles, called a kvot, is used to wash the hands. Before we eat a meal of bread, we wash our hands in a special way. This is called Natilat Yadayim. The kvot containing the water is passed to the left hand, and then water is poured 3 times on the right hand. Then the cup is passed to the right hand, and water poured 3 times onto the left hand. The water should cover the entire hand up to the wrist. It is customary to hold the cup with a towel when pouring on the left hand. A little water should remain in the left hand to be rubbed over both hands while reciting the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kiddeshanu, b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu, al natilas yodoyim.
Then the hands are dried. One should not talk until the blessing Hamotzi has been recited over the bread.
Tight. Is this picture done? No, shit's still going.
So we have a mixture of male and female. No matter how they identify, right? Because the mice, again, anatomically, they're going to be distinct. So because they are distinct, therefore, halakha the mice, again, is no mixture. Which the mice, 1 second. Katas for all the number. They can make the same argument for the katas and all the libraries, because the katas ultimately is always a female animal, and Ola is a slave. So you're not going to make the smart thing over here. You know, just one other, there's an exception to this. Why? Because severe loss. Ultimately, it looks like it is the severe of the loss, right? Which ultimately, again, is a chatos offering. So halach on the mindset is a sachar. So in words, that's high severe.
Nago Basser.
High severe, I get it. I will say there is a different order of the identity of the goat and the sheep. So apparently, again, one has hair and one has wool. A goat has seir, ultimately again a sheep has wolves.
In ancient time, the meal we are about to eat is holy, and we are preparing ourselves for that holiness.
A special cup with 2 handles, called a kvot, is used to wash.
Has to be animal within 1 year. Versus ultimately again an asham which is 2 years. Usually where it says Ika asham not with asham with sola. First of all, you know, say other asham again, asham not with asham with sola. Then ultimately again are animals that are within 1 year. By saying the other possibility is Ika ben shana the next second ben shana, and Ika ben shtayt the next second ben shana. Here's the difference also. When you have animals of the same type, ultimately again of different features, that's not necessarily a distinguishable thing. Because they will say sometimes you can have an animal that is 1 year old that looks like 2, or sometimes you can have an animal that is 2 years old that looks like 1. They will say a profound difference of skill. Like that when it comes to living beings, sometimes you can have something that is young, that acts incredibly mature. Sometimes you can have something that is mature, that acts incredibly young. They will say this is important for us because this is a biological age need not be a determinant for our ability to succeed in life. A person can be young and ultimately, again, not have a lot of life experience. And you have the wisdom to attach, like the Tzaddik said. I say the Quran, you have the wisdom ultimately, again, to attach yourself to people who have more life experience and never live the life of someone a little bit more seasoned. On the other hand, sometimes the person can be older, but yet still repeating the same mistakes of youth over and over and over. So much of life, what is it that life is about not making mistakes? That's impossible. Everyone makes mistakes. So what's life about? Life is about not making the same mistakes over and over and over. The goal in life is don't be a 2-year-old who looks like a 1-year-old. Right? Don't be or behave like a 1-year-old. Don't be someone who is mature. Don't be someone who is biologically advanced, who is still making the same exact mistakes as he did when he was young. To make no mistakes is impossible, but at least to learn from our mistakes, to try to be better, to try to be different. Oh, well, I'm not making different mistakes. And at least if I'm repeating the same ones, right? As long as I'm not a 2-year-old acting like a 1-year-old, then ultimately again, that is a life well lived and life well led. What's that? Great run. Shkoyach, everyone. All right. Hey, we caught up with the rest of the club. Shabbos. Shkoyach. Good Shabbos, everyone. Kevin, too. Have a great Shabbos.
We'll do this tomorrow. We'll go into fucking hand washing and shit.
Yeah.
Are you done? This thing still isn't done. Yeah, we're done. You're fine.